Well, hello there. This is Virtual Chess Noob, learning and having fun with chess. Today, I'm going to give a beginner's guide to one of the tactics that I really like using, something known as the fishing pole tactic, or the fishing pole attack, or the fishing pole trap. It's really fun, quite effective at the beginner intermediate level, less effective once people know about it and so don't fall into it. Let's go take a look. Now, the first thing is I've set up this indicative position, so I've removed most of the extraneous pieces just to demonstrate how the tactic works. Now, the tactic is more commonly available for the player with the black pieces. So let's flip this around, view from black. And as we can see here, black has yet to castle. Now, sometimes black might have castled long. White, however, has castled short, so castled kingside. So very commonly, we might see it in the e4, e5 type game. The king's knight is on its normal position on f3. And here we've developed our king's knight to f6 as well. So what happens? So in this game, maybe white just short castled. And the step one of the tactic is that we bait our hook and we cast it out into the water. So we cast the knight, which is our bait, onto g4. So here we go. The knight's kind of a little bit offside. Was it doing there? But it might make white feel a little bit uncomfortable because ostensibly there might be an attack here, there might be an attack there. That is our bait. And what we're trying to tempt white to do is to push their h-pawn. And the logic behind the entire tactic is that we want to potentially open up that h-file so that we have an attack on white's king down the h-file. So here they've pushed their h-pawn, having a look at the bait, like a fish, maybe it's probing it, maybe having a little bit of a nibble. And now that we've felt, the little bit of a nibble on our rod, we keep the bait there. Maybe we give it a little bit of a jiggle. We play our own h-pawn to h5, ostensibly protecting our bait. Now for white, particularly if they're very, very tempted by the material, then they may take a bite. That's what we want. They take a bite, that's the next step. And once they do that, we now set the hook. The fish has bitten onto our bait on our hook. We set the hook by jerking back the rod, and we snap capture with the h-pawn on the g-pawn, bang. Notice the h-file is now fully open, and we've got an attack on white's knight. So white may feel, ooh, I need to move my knight out of the way. I've won some material. I don't want to, lose that material. And they're going to see, where can I go? I could go here. I could maybe go here. Well, that doesn't work. If I go here, that doesn't work. If I go here, that doesn't work. So maybe we'll pull it back into my own territory, maybe to d2, maybe to e1. And commonly, they'll play something like that, knight to d2. And that's a blunder. And it's a blunder because the hook is set. Checkmate is now unavoidable. Mate in 4, as you can see. And effectively, now we start to reel in the fish. White may try to struggle a little bit, but, they can't avoid their fate. So here, queen d4, this was the logic of opening up the h-file. You can see there's a checkmate attack with queen potentially to h2 or maybe queen h1. Now white can, as I said, try to struggle a little bit in this game. So they may say, look, I need to create an escape square for my king, so push their f-pawn to f3 or to f4. However, it doesn't work because we now play the g3, closing that escape square, and it doesn't matter what white does now, bang, and that's mate. So that is the fishing pole tactic. We land a fish here. Let's go see this in 4 games, which I played against Random Noob. And as we move along, we'll see the games in increasing complexity using this tactic. So the first game, very normal game. Now white does start with the bishop's opening, so e4, e5, and a bishop to c4. Against bishop to c4, bishop's opening, I usually develop the queen's knight because I want white to transpose back into an Italian. They try to hold off for a bit, 2 knights, and here we go, they develop king's knight. So this is now the Italian game, 2 knights, modern bishop's opening. And I normally would play h6 because I want to control the g5 square. Very normal to develop the other bishop. I develop my bishop. They now short castles. And you notice the setup is almost all there. And this is completely solid for white. So this is a very, very normal Italian looking game. Now I just finish off my development with d6. And here they play a slow waiting move. And so I now decide to play the fishing pole tactic. So put the bait on the hook, cast the knight, which is our bait, into white's territory, knight g4. So not the most accurate move, but definitely not a blunder. What is white going to do? They are tempted. Okay, that's what I want. So here they look like, what's going on there? And they're probably expecting me to push the knight back. However, there we are. Defend the knight with our own h-pawn. What is white going to do? They capture, so this just straight up follows the schema we saw in the demonstration position. Capture, attack on the knight. Knight here leaps in this direction. Now, this is actually not a very accurate move for me with this trap because they could have actually put the knight onto g5 because of the bishop defending that square. However, their knight is there, and now queen to h4, attacking the knight. It looks like it's a mating attack. They decide to give a spite check, capture, and in this position, white actually saw that the knight is end. You can see forced mate, and they opted to resign. So this is a very, very simple game that really clearly demonstrates the fishing pole attack. Now let's have a look at the next game, slightly more complex. And this game begins as a center game. We get a little bit of, we get a little bit of action in the opening first. So where are we? Here we go. So e4, e5, center game, accepted. They capture the queen, knight pushes the queen. They decide to put it all the way back, which is fine. I develop the other knight, knight, bishop, bishop. Here you can see some of the structures starting to look a little bit similar. They develop the other knights. Here we sort of almost enter a 4 knights type territory, 4 knights type Italian, except that there is a missing white d-pawn, you will notice. And here develop the queen with an attack, and now they short castle. We've got the position where maybe we can do a fishing pole tactic attack. And that's what I do. So hook the bait and now cast knight to g4. Now, they decide that they're not that interested initially, and that sometimes happens. That knight is free to stay there. Maybe I could just capture there, there. That would be potentially good. So capture. They decide to not capture back. Maybe just too late. They notice that. They develop the queen. That's okay. Move my bishop back, and now they couldn't help themselves. They probe the knight, having a look at the bait, maybe having a nibble. h5, defend. What are they going to do? And from this position, white basically follows the tactic and effectively goes down that trap line. So capture, capture, attack the knight. Knight jumps back into the d2 square. Queen to h4, it's about mate. They thought that maybe they can attack the queen. Maybe they weren't sure what they're going to do, but that's fine. Mate, good game, GG. Third game now, even more complicated still. And this is where we start to see the tactical idea, the concept of the fishing pole attack more than the specific sequence of moves. All right, now this game begins, again, slightly unusually with that Vanet Kreuz opening. So e3, very interesting. So I take the center, there we go. Captures, queen out, and funny sort of opening for white, not the most accurate. I try to I have 2 knights. They try to pin. That's okay. I decide to move my queen forward. Here, they develop their other knight. And no, just a bit of a waiting move, avoiding that knight from jumping forward. They play a waiting move themselves. Here, I ask what they're going to do with their bishop. They pull that back. And here, I develop my bishop with a pin of their knight to the queen. They short castle. Remember the knight was there before? The bishop can also act as the bait. Now the bishop ended up there not deliberately trying to play the fishing pole attack, but once it's there, the same idea can exist. We might want to open up the H file so that we can get an attack on white's king. So here I long castle in the other direction. And they bring the bishop back. Here we go. Let's just move the H pawn to defend the bishop to start off with. They move their knight. Looking like they want to trade here. That's potentially okay. So I just move my bishop to this position. Immediately attacking the knight is good as well, but I'm hoping that they'll trade here. I'm hoping that they'll trade, and that's what they do. You can see it's a blunder because captures, queen can't capture back because it is defended by the knight. And here, white doesn't even know that they've fallen into a fishing pole type attack because they thought, here we go, there's a discovered attack on my knight. I need to move my knight out of the way. Well, where can it go? It doesn't look like it can go anywhere really good. And so they play knight to f5 with an attack on the queen. But it's a blunder. They had to lose the knight because the H file is fully open. Queen captures H2 and it's mate. So you can see the fishing pole tactic ideas, they're not delivered in quite the same way. And let's see lastly, the last game in the sequence, again, more complicated still. And the thing is, as you move into intermediate level, white may choose to not accept, that they know enough about it that they shouldn't bite the bait. But because it's there, because the tactic is there, it potentially can be quite forcing. The knight or the bishop in that position becomes relatively immortal. Let's have a look. Now this game starts off again with an Italian-like game. It enters the 4 knights. So e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, Italian, 2 knights, 4 knights Italian, take, captures, and this is a very classic 4 knights approach with a fork. They take this way, which is inaccurate, captures back. Here we go, bishop, remember, same as last time, bishop onto the g4 square, notionally a pin on the queen. They develop the bishop, that's normal. I now long castle, they short castle, and here I strike out with an attack on their knight. What are they going to do? They bring the knight back. I bring my queen back here. Okay, this is the bait. This is the bait from the fishing pole tactic. And here they want to have a nibble. So h5. And here you can see this was actually a brilliant move. They actually bit, captures. Look at this, black is completely ahead with an attack on the knight. Now you notice my queen isn't in the right position to be delivering mate. So they move the knight out of the way. I now develop the bishop, potentially push forward with that attack. They jam that shut with f4. Queen back in this position, potentially looking at that attack. And here they realize they have a problem. And so they start to run the king. Queen now comes. I still have a massive attack on white's king. They take this way. Apparently that way is better. They try to, offer a trade of rooks, but I don't need to do that. I've got this massive attack on white's exposed king. Here, I capture first. I want them potentially to capture me if there's going to be a capture. Also with an attack on the bishop, they decide to, move it this way. That's fine. Push with check. King moves, captures that hanging bishop. They capture. Queen here, bang with the rook attacking the queen. They decide to capture this way with check. Queen captures. Queen now here And now with check, there we go, push forward. And in this position, white opts to resign because they've realized that their queen is lost. In fact, there's a mating net. The mate is quite far away potentially, but there is nothing that they can do to avoid losing their queen. Think about it. If they move, if they try to go this way to escape, then effectively I can push the queen here, and it's a serious problem for them. Or I can push the rook here, and that forces potentially a trade of queens, as well as the possibility of creating a second queen. It's all over for white, and so white opted to resign. I hope this showed you, some ideas on some sort of tactical ways you might try to use. Have a look for the fishing pole attack. Try to use it in your own games. I hope you enjoyed this video. Good game. GG.